Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to check out another of these extreme damage figures, and this is probably the most anticipated of the newer extreme damage figures because we have the Dimetrodon. I want to take a minute and give a huge thank you to Plush Boy Q who hooked me up with this figure, helping me to acquire it a little bit early. Definitely one that I was really anticipating, so it was awesome when he had contacted me to let me know that he had found one of these and was willing to help again get it sent over to me as soon as possible. As far as the box art goes, you can see it's pretty much your standard as far as your usual box art. You can see it's really nice Dominion artwork on the box, and then here on the back of the box you've got an image of the Dimetrodon as well as an image down here of the other two figures in this wave of extreme damage, which is the Velociraptor and Coelurus. So let's go ahead, pop this out of the box, and check it out. Before I go any further with the review, I want to ask you guys if you could do me a huge favor, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this type of content, because every thumbs up that the video gets will help to further its reach and bring in more people to make these videos a little bit more successful, and it really does help the channel out immensely. So if you could just give this video a thumbs up, I would be incredibly grateful. So here is our new Dimetrodon from Mattel. I'll actually turn it around because that was the side we saw in the packaging. Try to get the feet a little bit better positioned here. Kind of wobbling. I don't think I have the feet in the right spot, but that is an absolutely beautiful looking Dimetrodon. I love the coloration of this one that Mattel has chosen. I love the greenish tones, the beautiful reddish sail, and just in general, it is an extremely nice looking version of the Dimetrodon, and in my opinion, way better than the older one. I was a fan of the older one, but this one definitely is much better as far as both the paint and sculpt. A really nice looking coloration that immediately drew me in for this Dimetrodon. I love the way that the green and reddish sail there play off of each other. It's like a red-orange, actually, but it's definitely a really cool figure, so let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Dimetrodon, you can immediately take note to just how nice the scale detail is here in the face. And not only how nice it is, but how vibrant it is. It really stands out on the sculpt of the figure. You can also see some pretty nice detailing there in the eye socket area. We have a nice dark brown that kind of borders around the eye socket and sort of splotches up toward the snout of the Dimetrodon. You also have a yellow eye with a black pupil, and the fact that we actually have a black pupil is definitely really good news, because many times we would probably just get like the greenish tone here for the black pupil, or even the dark brown could have worked, but that actually is a black pupil. I can definitely take note to the fact that it is. We also have a light coloration here for the lower jaw. In typical Mattel fashion, though, the coloration only runs here into the throat before disappearing. Yet again, as always, I would have loved to have seen that coloration here running along the underside, but unfortunately that is not the case. The overall head sculpt looks pretty similar to the older one, but definitely nicer, I think. We do have an articulated jaw, and on the inside of the mouth, you can see a really nice realistic tone of like a pinkish coloration with a nice glossy look, so it shines pretty nicely. We don't have any coloration there on the upper side of the inside of the mouth, but on the tongue and then the skin here on the side of the mouth and then the back of the mouth, we do have some really nice coloration. The teeth are also beautifully painted and beautifully sculpted. Very nicely done. No real sloppiness that I can take note of or anything like that. So that is as well a plus. And then as we start to move down the neck, you can see that we get some like osteoderms picking up. It almost has like a Carnotaurus type of an osteoderm look, where we have a few different rows of osteoderms running down the course of the body. You can continue to see how nice and vibrant the scale detail is. Quite a bit of nice creasing and wrinkling right there, kind of showing off some movement of the Dimetrodon. As you move down, you've got the really nice front leg sculpt here, kind of a curve, a turn in toward the body, which is an interesting stance for that foot. And you can also see some creasing there in the joint of the elbow itself right there. The foot sculpt has some scoots down the toes, and you can see the nails are nicely sculpted but not painted. They do kind of have a glossy look, so that's kind of insinuating nail paint, but there's no actual nail paint. You can pick up on the speckling, though. As usual, the Mattel figures most times, not all the time, but most times have a speckling. It looks like we have a dark brown speckling similar to the dark brown that we have up here. As we move back up into the stomach region, you immediately can take note to the fact that we have the extreme damage aspect of the figure. It seems like these are always the same way, where we have 3 on one side and then 2 on the opposing side, and that's definitely the same thing that we have here for the Dimetrodon. And to operate that, I believe we push one of these. There it is. So we definitely push that one. And we now have an injury on our Dimetrodon. You can see it has a really nice sculpt on the inside there, even though it's not super huge that we can get in there to see it. You can definitely take note to the fact that the sculpt looks nice, and you also have a really nice glossy red, kind of insinuating blood and everything, and really giving it that injury look. And you can see more of the really nice detailing as you lead through the course of the body here. Some more of those osteoderms and everything, kind of like scoots running down the body. As you lead up into the sail, you can see the sail itself sports some fantastic detail and some really nice designs here in the sail. I really would have liked to have seen the designs run down here, because they kind of start early. They should have run out here as far as that dark brown goes, but it's not the end of the world. You can see though that the dark brown and everything is applied really smoothly and very nice and naturally through the course of the sail. And then as you move down here, you can see some really nice larger scaling here in the thigh. Again, absolutely awesome looking detailing. Nice muscle definition in the thigh. You've got the kneecap there in the front of the leg. A nice curve in the ankle here, so you can't really see the foot too much. It's kind of scrunched into the body, but it still looks pretty good. And then as we lead out here into the tail, again, more of those clusters of osteoderms, and you can see them as they lead out into the tail. You have more really nice scale detail as well. The speckling is incredibly visible and abundant through the course of this figure. You can really pick up on it as we run along the underside. Really nice, very lizard-like scaling here on the underside of the Dimetrodon. And then you're going to turn it around. You're not really going to see too much difference over here aside from the positioning of the legs. They are definitely in a different position. The leg here is leading, whereas the rear leg is trailing compared to the legs on the opposing side. And then you also have 3 slices here on this side, whereas you only had 2 on the initial side. Again, it works very nicely as far as the extreme damage aspect goes. You have the really nice eye paint. Again, it looks pretty good. No real huge sloppiness or anything, which was one of my concerns coming into the newer Dominion line after taking a look at my 5-inch basic Giganotosaurus, and I had seen that Plush Boy Q actually acquired the Extreme Damage Velociraptor Blue set, and his blue didn't even have paint on the eye at all, so it seems as though there is some quality control issues still occurring when it comes to the Mattel line, but at least as far as the extreme damage figures go, these ones, I haven't had any issues with these yet. But you can see again that the detailing aspect looks really nice through the course of the body. These nice browns here kind of run along the bottom of the sail and kind of splotch down, but they're not overly abundant. They just kind of run along the bottom of the sail. They don't run down into the side of the body too far or anything. You can see the leg sculpt looks really nice again over here. Nice visual here of the foot sculpt, looking at how nice that is as well. And then the rear leg, you can definitely see has some really nice muscle definition to it and some very nice, very large scaling. And again, you can't really see the foot sculpt back here too well because it's kind of scrunched under the leg, but it still looks good from what we can see. Definitely a really, really nice looking Dimetrodon, and way better, I think, than the original one. As far as articulation on our Dimetrodon goes, again, we did show off the articulated jaw. We also have an articulated neck, so you can get the head down there pretty low and then move it back up. It's interesting how, unfortunately, if you're going to have this kind of articulation, the sail has to disconnect there. So once you put it back up and you have it right there, it looks really nice and smooth. But if you articulate it down now, it looks a little bit awkward, which there's not really much you can do about that. We also have leg articulation, can go forward and back. Yes, it can definitely go out away from the body as well. And then we have rear leg articulation, which is a little stiff, but you can see that can move forward and back as well. And then you have the articulated tail, maybe? Yeah, it definitely articulates. There we go. Wow, that was really stiff. Concerningly stiff, but that definitely is on a swivel. And then you do have the DNA code here, and I get why they do this. It's kind of a cool idea, but I'm not a big fan of it on most of them. However, this one's okay because you don't really see any kind of like a big obnoxious gap or anything like you see on some of the others. So the Dimetrodon version is actually totally fine as far as the DNA code goes, but it's like you're extracting the DNA from the animal, and I get that's why they did it. But on the back of it, you see a Jurassic World logo, and then here on the front, you've got the actual code itself if you'd like to add this to your collection. Again, it doesn't look so bad on this one. It's not really noticeable thanks to the sail, but the versions that I like, the Velociraptor that I had just taken a look at, it looks obnoxious on those ones because it just has a big gap, similar to like the Roar attack figures where there was a big gap for the action feature of the last few Roar attacks. Same deal as far as the new DNA codes, but on the Dimetrodon, it's actually totally fine. For a length, you are looking at around I'd say a little over 7.5 inches, or I'd say actually about 9.5 centimeters, so approaching 7 3/4 inches. And then for a height to the top of the sail, just under 3 3/4 inches, or around 9.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line in comparison to our Dimetrodon, showing you that the Dimetrodon falls right in the same similar size range as all of this style figure before it. You can see it's right there in the same Attack Pack size range. And then for a second comparison, here is the original Dimetrodon from Mattel in comparison to the newer one, and man, what a huge difference. Like, these two figures don't even look like they're honestly the same species. They are so different. I didn't realize just how different they were. Even in the head sculpt, I thought the head sculpt actually looked similar to the older one, but on the older one, it is drastically different. Every, honestly, area of the older Dimetrodon is not even remotely as nice as the newer one, sculpt-wise and paint-wise. I do like the coloration of the older one, and I do also like the sculpt of the older one. It's cool, but it's so far from what a Dimetrodon would actually look like. The newer one is much closer to what a Dimetrodon would actually look like, and again, the older one kind of has more of like, almost like a movie monster type of a look, whereas the newer one definitely looks way nicer as far as what a Dimetrodon would actually look like. Mattel certainly improved the sculpt drastically here with this newer one. So this brand new Extreme Damage Dimetrodon from Mattel for the Jurassic World Dominion line is absolutely fantastic, and definitely a figure that I am extremely happy to see entering the line. I would imagine the reason that they probably had to resculpt this so drastically and give it such a different look is because the figure is a species that actually appears in the film, so they kind of had to base this off of the actual film version, which means the film version is far closer to accurate than what the older one there was from Mattel. So that definitely is great news, and I think that the Dimetrodon here looks great. Way better than the older one, like miles better than the older one. So anybody that missed the older Dimetrodon, a lot of people did. It was kind of a hard one to find. Will definitely have an opportunity to pick up the newer one, which is a far superior version to the older one anyways. So the older one, and the fact that many people missed out on it isn't really that big of a deal, I would think, after this. But again, the sculpt is gorgeous. So much really nice, really fine detail. I love the appearance of the Dimetrodon, and I feel like the paint job that they've given it as well is fantastic. Really nice naturalistic tones of color, beautiful application of the paint, and just a very visually appealing Dimetrodon. Like, it's very nice to look at. The older one was cool with the kind of splotchy yellow in the sail. I thought that was neat, but as far as the overall body color, this one just destroys it, I think. The coloration is just so much more appealing to look at here on the newer version. And you also have some pretty fun articulation on top of all of that. Nothing major, nothing incredible. I don't really like the fact that the sail has to kind of disconnect in the front when you articulate the neck and head, but if you're going to have that kind of articulation in the neck and head of the Dimetrodon, there's really not much you can do about that. I don't feel like there's any way you could avoid it, so it's understandable why that happens, but it's, you know, a little bit of an eyesore, I think, for the figure when you articulate its head down, but still, again, not a big deal. But the DNA code looks way better on this one. I will say that. I love the fact that it's disguised a lot nicer, a lot more appealing on this one, as the other ones kind of have a bit of an obnoxious look when it comes to the DNA code. Looks way better here on the Dimetrodon. And then you have a really nice extreme damage feature to the figure, which works beautifully as they always do. So definitely a huge recommendation from me. Probably one of the nicest Mattel figures, I think, that are coming out, period. So if you are interested in picking this up, make sure you head to your local Walmart, because that's where it has begun showing up. That's where Plush Boy Q found this one. So make sure you check that out. Again, one huge thank you to Plush Boy Q for sending this out, and make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.